Joining me on Stockbox today is the CEO of Power Metal Resources, Paul Johnson. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you, Paul. And yourself?
Yes, very good, thanks. Very good.
Okay. Now, I was just looking, the last time we spoke was 3 weeks ago, believe it or not. I don't know where the time's gone, really. And with Power Metal Resources, a lot happens in a week, but, in 3 weeks, considerably more happens. So yeah, what's going on? Are you going to make a discovery anytime soon, do you think?
Oh, that's an incredibly curveball question. We're going for it, and the only way you make these discoveries isn't by sitting in an office and just thinking about things. It's by spending money, doing programs and doing work. And the market has been updated with all the various activities as far as we've gone so far. And the drilling in Molopo is going ahead, as we've talked about. The mobilization at Heneti is going ahead, as we've talked about. We did that program in Canada that the snow stopped us a little bit early, but there you go. And then exploration and corporate development across the portfolio. It's funny because we have operational activities in Canada and Arizona, USA. We have projects in Australia, and then we have the African-based metals in the middle. So we're kind of 24/7 at the moment. Anyone complains of a lifestyle company, they should come and work here and they'll get a shock, I tell you. But we're on the go all the time, and every morning I wake up and think, okay, is it today I'm going to get that email or that text message or something come through with some major news? Very exciting, and we may well make a discovery at any time, and that's what this business is all about. I have to give a risk warning. We may well not, of course, but we're optimistic and we're pushing ahead.
And one of the bits of news flow that I've noticed over the last few weeks is, of course, director buys. So you've decided to buy more. Can you tell us why?
Well, because when I buy shares in the company, obviously it's good to send a message that you're standing alongside shareholders, but I'm a little bit selfish as well. I buy shares for the family portfolio when I think the shares are going to go up a lot. I'm not interested in our space, junior resource exploration. I'm not interested in 10% gains a year or 20% gains. I'm interested in the opportunities that I think can provide dramatic multiple uplifts on the entry price. Now, again, my optimism's great. It might not happen, but I wouldn't put my money in if I didn't think it would. So, yeah, I was quite happy to buy recently. I think the last buy was at 1 million shares at 1.78 pence or something. And before that, I bought quite a large quantity around 1.952 pence kind of level. Can't remember exactly, but yeah, I was very happy to buy at those levels.
And that's roughly the level where the share price is now. So I guess anyone buying now is aligned with your latest buys, which is always a nice thing. I think perhaps won't feel like they've already missed out on significant rises. There's still more to come.
Yeah, well, I think my kind of want for gains on the share are kind of matched by investors' additional security when they see the management teams pulling in their own cash. And real cash, buying on market. It's all right to participate in financings and that kind of thing, but I think it's like a premium buy. If you go into the market where everyone else trades and you go and buy stock off the market, I think the investor base like that. And I know that because me as a private investor, when I see management teams buy, rare though it is, and they're certainly buying in large amounts, it's extremely rare. But when I see it, it gives me a lot of confidence because that is a positive sign that management feel that their shares are worth buying on market. It's great.
Okay, that's good. So in past interviews, and you mentioned it earlier on today, that the current operations going on, you obviously got Heneti, Molopo, and Canada, but there's a lot more in Power's portfolio. Another 6, total of 9 projects. So Maybe we should discuss some of them for a change. How about the DRC just taking one? What have Power got there, and what do you like about it, and what's the plan?
Yeah, well, actually, I think it's a good idea to look at some of the other areas, because there are, dare I say, the word nuggets, in the sense of positive potential news across our portfolio outside of what has been the main focus of Malopo drilling, Heneti mobilization for drilling, and the operations at the Silver Peak project in Canada. If you take the DRC as a case in point, then finding the high-grade cobalt and copper in the assay results was great. It was deferred because the assays were delayed with the COVID situation. But then we got that data back, and it's a slam dunk 7-kilometre anomaly that's being ratified through exploration. Next stage, geophysics, and then ultimately drilling. And then we'll really see what's there. Now, most projects run for many, many years with various levels of exploration. And then once you've got a resource and you believe it's mineable, you then go into the feasibility studies and preparation for mining. And that takes a good period of time and a lot of cost. And then at the end of that process, you would apply for a production license, a mining license. What we've got with the DRC is we have applied for a production license now, a 25-year production license. Mm-hmm. And should we be successful in that application, we have that certainty with regard to having the right to mine the property. If we're successful with exploration and we build up a resource that's a mineable resource, we actually have that production license in place now. And that adds considerable value right now, but it also further adds value as each step of exploration and mine development is undertaken, because you have that degree of extra certainty. So that's a big thing for us if we're able to get that production license into the business.
Okay, good. Well, I think maybe on future interviews that we have, we can maybe touch on some of the other projects as well, because there is a lot going on that we could, I think, deserve talking about. But 9 projects, that's an awful lot of projects, and a lot of the companies that we have on Stopbox, they're run by geologists, and you see in the RNSs that come out, there's lots of complex terminology that perhaps your average person doesn't really understand or doesn't really quantify. Now, of course, you're not a geologist; you're an accountant for your sins, as you said many times before. How do you deal with all the technical stuff surrounding a project, and how do you find the opportunities?
Oh well, I've often said to people, if you have big firms of lawyers, big legal firms, you have big firms of accountants. They're often run by business managers rather than lawyers or accountants. And if you have a big geological firm, there's no reason why it should be any different. A business manager is a particular advantage, because success, I think, on a market such as AIM, if you're running a junior resource company, does obviously depend on the success in finding something of value, a discovery that will make a difference to the company's valuation. But in order to get there, the pathway requires you to navigate so many different issues, legal issues, compliance issues, market rules and regulations, the ability to raise finance for the company in a way that enables the share price still to grow, marketing and communications to be able to get the message out and to engage people with the story. And then at the end of all that lot, which actually requires huge amounts of business management experience and capability, and that's perhaps why so many juniors struggle, because they are run by people who don't have that business management experience. But at the end of that process, you kind of have the geology, which is where, if you have the right company, structured well, run well, and with enough capital, you can put that money into exploration. In terms of my own personal experience, if I look at some of my success stories in terms of the AIM marketplace, when Metal Tiger acquired the interest in not T3, but the licenses in Botswana from which T3 was found, it was evident from speaking to specialists in the business, geological specialists, and potential partners, as it were, that this was an area that was well known, well understood. They were well developed in terms of exploration targets. We could get to a drill decision quickly and then move on and start drilling. So from these various internal and external technical specialists, you have all this feedback. And my key when I discuss with people, because I don't have the geological expertise that a geologist would have, is that I ask them to break it down for me in simple terms, so I can understand it, because I think the majority of the investors out there are not geologists. I think the majority of the investors are investors with general skill sets and understandings. And I want to be able to articulate through RNS the message in a very simple manner where possible. So having discussions with advisors and getting the message distilled down in a very simple way gives you a lot of commercial confidence that something is of merit. And it's that process now with the Malopo Farms Complex project, Kalahari Key, where Power Metal are involved back in Botswana. The early discussions with the technical people inside and out reveal that this was a very passionate team, an extremely capable team geologically, with years of experience and work on the ground at this target in Botswana. And they had developed this model very carefully. With modest amounts of money. They were being very commercial in their approach, and they clearly had commercial targets in mind. It wasn't a technical university experiment. It was a carefully thought out commercial project. And that is ultimately what we're aiming towards with Malopo. And it has been what they've been aiming towards from the start. So you just get that instinct, really, that feeling that something is right. You back it up with the discussions that you have with people and the evidence available to you. And I think as a non-geologist, I'm actually in a slightly better position than a geologist in terms of being able to sense what the right projects are to invest in. Mm-hmm. And one final point, Mark, is that you have to remember at the end of the day that if we find something of great substance in any of our projects, we make a major discovery or discoveries, then we have to work with commercial people to take them forward and create the most value for our shareholders. So we can't be working with people who are not suitable partners. We have to have that in mind all the way through. And I think, we work with some very good partners who we can work with well now as we explore, and we can work with well when we get to discovery and the stages afterwards when the real value starts to pile in through the door.
Okay, so even though you've only got 3 activities currently ongoing, you feel each project within the portfolio has great potential?
Well, if you look at it, we have Botswana Malopo running. We have Silver Peak Canada. We just finished the field program, but it's running from an exploration perspective whilst we await assays. We've got Tanzania that we've talked about with Heneti in mobilization to drill. And we've got the work being done in the DRC on the copper cobalt anomaly. We're about to start, as we've announced, on the Alamo project for the gold nugget mineralization in Arizona. So we've actually more than 3 running, lots of different things running in parallel at the minute.
Okay. Well, of course, we're in December now, aren't we, as well? Christmas is coming around. It might be a little bit different for, lots of people this year due to the year that we've had. Any presents that you might deliver to us, other POW shareholders before Christmas? So, what's the sort of Santa Claus rally looking like this year?
Well, that's an interesting question, Santa, because my wife Michelle had a long debate with our 6-year-old Thomas this morning.
Okay,
and he was arguing that Santa Claus came from chicken. And after about 20 minutes of interrogating him on why he thinks Santa Claus came from chicken, what he actually meant was Turkey, the country. but he got a little bit of his terms confused.
Okay.
And I think that's exactly what happens in the market towards the end of the year. There's a lot of different factors coming in. There's optimism as we go towards the end of the year and a fresh start. Positivity because Christmas season is net positive. In some parts of the world, there's tax loss selling towards the end of the year because we have in the UK, of course, a 5th of April year end for tax purposes. But overseas, it's often 31st of December. So there's lots of different factors. But and this year is interesting because normally we do go quiet in the UK market, but I suspect with all of the restrictions placed upon us and the slightly downbeat attitude towards going out and partying and the restrictions on that, I think we'll find a lot more trading happen in the month of December. And also the Christmas holiday fits nice for trading patterns because Christmas Day is, I think, on the Friday, the 25th.
Okay.
So it will be a block weekend shutdown. And then the following week, New Year's Day on the Friday, the 1st. So there's not that disruptive 2 weeks as much as there has been in previous years when Christmas Day falls in the middle of the week. So all that said, from our perspective, I've never had Power Metal Resources or any other company with so much operational activity ongoing at any point in time as we have now. And so much work happening across the board in not just exploration programs in the field, but exploration planning and analysis work in the background, corporate development work happening across multiple interests that we've all announced pretty much largely, although there are certain other areas that we're building, of course, as you'd expect. So we have, I think, the prospect of news flow, as you've seen, at any time, but I think in the near term we have a lot of news flow. So could a Santa Claus rally happen to our stock? Well, I do hope so, because I think it's what we've been building toward. Ultimately, we know that it's the big news and the big success announcements that make the massive difference. So that's what I'm focused on, is getting us to that point where I can come out and say, we have found this, and it's a big news story for the company.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Paul Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.